Before we get to, I find this very, very fascinating. So are you acknowledging that men running through women, that's a bad thing?
Yes, but society as a whole doesn't seem to agree with my opinion.
Doesn't seem to agree with that. And you're saying men running through women, this is one of the negative aspects of patriarchy, and it's one of the things that men benefit from when it comes to patriarchy. Is that correct? Would you say? Framing?
Society as a whole views that as a benefit to men.
Okay. And is that,
that's what I'm saying.
Hold on.
I have my personal opinion that's disagreeing with that. But in general, if we're talking about how society generally views a patriarchy, how society generally views women and men, society generally will prop up a man if he engages in that behavior.
Is that because of patriarchy, you're saying?
I do think that's an extension of patriarchy. This idea that like men are more capable, that men are, like stronger, and therefore like those actions are supposed to indicate like strength.
I have one thing really quick.
I'm trying to make a point.
What?
He's trying to make a point, goddammit. Let him make his point.
I've listened.
He's put his mic on the
listened
table,
for
he's leaning
20
forward.
minutes.
One thing.
I've listened for 20 minutes. Please
Just
go ahead.
one thing.
Oh my God.
Is the patriarchy stronger now, or was it stronger, say, 100 years ago?
Oh, it was stronger 100 years ago. I think we've made great advancements.
And so
in
you're
women's rights.
blaming, but the patriarchy was stronger, say, 100 years ago, but now in today's day and age, when it's ostensibly the weakest it's ever been, how can you pin?
So this is
promise?
Brian. Let me
Is
take
that
it
where
from
you're
here. This is kind of he's leading to my point. Okay, you and I both agree that men running through women is detrimental to our society. Correct?
Yes.
The argument that I would make is in years past, when there were stronger patriarchal structures over society, there were decreased rates of men running through women because we had greater amounts of tradition in society. This whole sexual liberation thing that is intimately tied into feminism, I would say that feminism is largely to blame for so many women in our society getting run through, because earlier in the conversation, Destiny was making the point that nowadays we live in a society where a lot of women, both liberal and conservative alike, they want to go and build their careers and they want to go and enjoy their lives. And a big part of that enjoyment of their lives involves being sexually free in their 20s. That thing that you dislike, that is a fruit of feminism.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things historically that patriarchy protected against, because traditionally speaking, it was a father's job to protect his daughter's virginity and her purity and all that kind of stuff. That's a good thing for society. This sexual liberation stuff that's burning women is a fruit of feminism.
Yeah, that's a very, sorry, let me just respond to that quickly.
All right.
That's a very interesting point. However, when I look at historically examples of like what has happened between men and women's relationships, you still have structures of the patriarchy that still incentivize like men to like either sleep around or not face negative repercussions necessarily for sleeping around, until the advent of feminism also tried to help fight against that. So
that was
let
at
me
the
just
absolute
finish.
top of society though, and a very small amount of men. It was nowhere near like it is today.
Okay, but the idea that like, oh, if a man cheats on you, it's the woman's fault. She was not a good enough wife. She was not like good enough, whatever. Existed for decades, right? This idea that like, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, I think in Christian patriarchy, infidelity in marriage was frowned upon for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, it was frowned upon for everyone, but women before the advent of feminism weren't able to break away from those from that. Basically.
I just wanted to say
they were stuck in.
Let her finish your point, please,
okay,
Nev.
yeah, sorry.
They were stuck in these cycles where it was like, okay, my husband cheats on me, or my husband leaves me. He's an alcoholic. He's doing all this. Well, because there's no fault divorce, I'm stuck with him. I have to take this abuse. He could be physically abusive.
But those were situations with fault for divorce. That was grounds for divorce, abuse, alcoholism.
Yeah. But even
cheating.
then, the
even
idea
the Catholic
that you
Church
have to
sees cheating as grounds for divorce.
Even
so
then, the idea that you have to go through this whole court process to prove that your husband actually did this stuff to you and that you didn't deserve it, right? Because those were the thoughts back in the day, that if your husband does anything to you, well, it's your fault because you weren't a good enough wife, you weren't a good enough mother, whatever. Did stop women from being able to be liberated or be able to get the rights that they deserved.
Kind of like what men have to go through nowadays with false rape accusations and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, nowadays the reasons for divorce aren't the things you've listed. It's literally just
rape
being
accusations.
Like, I feel vaguely unfulfilled
Sorry.
in this
Sorry.
relationship.
Yeah. Can I just say, I think that you are actively perpetuating the patriarchy that you're cursing and blaming everything on by endorsing like OnlyFans and stuff, by saying
when did I ever endorse OnlyFans?
Just by like promoting the stuff. Like,
when did I promote it?
earlier.
When did I
Do
promote
it.
it earlier?
You started bringing OnlyFans into things as if like people
No,
wouldn't judge you
I
for
said.
it.
Well, I said like, yeah, women are judged for having OnlyFans. I
That
didn't
was
say
the most
OnlyFans is
niche
good.
example ever.
Should
Like,
women not be
no.
judged for
Yeah, I
OnlyFans?
think- I
Yeah, I
think
think fair false rape accusations is a very niche example. Too.
I think you're
fair
perpetuating.
play, fair play.
No.
But I mean, come on, Destiny, come
Also,
on.
you're
Hey,
strong
hey, hey,
enough
hey,
to
everybody-
OnlyFans
in a job interview.
everybody, for the sake of Brian's channel, if we're going to talk about SA, let's use the word grape.
My bad.
Okay?
Okay.
That's
So
okay.
for
essay.
essay though, Destiny, come on, pulling up like, oh, we see you may have had an OnlyFans account.
No, but
That's
you're
a pretty-
strawmanning me. I used
Hey, that was
OnlyFans
my
as an
example.
example, but what I was trying to elaborate, or what
It's
I
so
was trying
bad
to
Destiny doesn't
illustrate,
defend
is
you.
that even without OnlyFans, if you find out, or a rumor or whatever, that a woman has slept around with 30 men, they're gonna look down on that woman. Forget
See,
OnlyFans, forget
naturally
It
anything
Rightfully
else.
feels
so.
more
Rightfully
feminist
so.
to hold women accountable for their actions and believe that they have full agency over their sexuality and hold them accountable when they've done things unwise with their sexuality.
And as a
that's a more
feminist-
feminist option
the
than
bell
considering
button.
them to be just tiny, like
audio
angel
there.
babies who
No, and
deserve
as
to
a-
be defended no matter what they do.
And as a feminist, I agree, but I also think we should hold men accountable for these actions
who
as
do you,
well.
Who do you
go.
think
Yeah.
you seem
Come
to
in,
think
Billy,
that women
Billy,
shouldn't
come in.
be judged for
Hold on.
having an
Let's let Billy.
OnlyFans?
Let's let Billy
I,
go ahead.
what? Sorry, can you repeat that?
You seem to think that women should not be judged for choosing to do porn.
I think it depends on the circumstance.
There is
Absolutely.
no circumstance where
Okay.
it's acceptable.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
hold
but
on.
there are
Hold
so
on,
many
hold on,
women
hold
who
on.
get into sex trafficking who start
Okay, that is
OnlyFans
not-
because they get the,
That
abusive.
is not the example that you gave us. You gave
Well,
us the
I was-
example of a woman
okay.
with OnlyFans.
No, I was giving a general example of like, oh, the idea of when women are judged more harshly.
Women-
But if you want, I'm gonna elaborate now, or I'm gonna clarify
Okay.
now. That's just an example, right? There are. You asked, oh, you think women should never be judged for OnlyFans? I never said that. I do think that there are certain scenarios where they
How
shouldn't
about
be
all
judged as
scenarios?
harshly.
Okay, all right,
How about all
hold on.
scenarios when
So
For
if
the
you-
sake of conversation,
Let's
look, with
bring
all,
Billy
with all
into
due
it.
respect,
So AIDS.
we could go around and around and around with this, but you have like kind of like every single answer you give, it's kind of qualified. Like in some cases this, but in other cases
Because
that.
life is
It's
not
almost
black
like
and
it's a
white.
nuanced discussion that's not going
Yeah,
to
I mean, you
trend
could
towards
you
yes,
can
no answers.
you can make every single thing nuanced is the point, but it's not fruitful for the overall
I think
discussion.
something
I
that's
want to hear.
interesting- something
I
that's
want to.
interesting-
I want to hear. I want to hear what
wait,
Billy,
wait, wait.
Billy was
Let's
waiting
let Billy
to jump
come
in.
in.
I just have a question. As feminists, who do you think is more at a disadvantage or more discriminated against in today's society, men or women?
Hey, Nev, move your mic.
You're gonna hate me for responding this, but what metric are you using? Like, what are you saying? Like, no, you guys are acting like I'm crazy.
No, I'm
and I
not.
understand
It's
the
just-
frustration.
We're not acting. You are
But it is
crazy.
our
You are thinking with emotions right now. Just
Wait,
say
did you
your-
even
I'm not
answer
acting-
her question?
I'm
Did she-
not
did she-
trying to
Billy,
disrespect
did
you.
she
or act
answer
like
the
you're
question?
crazy. It's just whenever you answer a question, it's like every single thing has a million shades of gray. And I don't look at the world that way, and I think it overcomplicates literally everything.
So you're
beyond-
saying you look at
beyond
the world in
point
like
of how far it needs to
simplistic
be
black and
complicated.
white paradigms. You don't ever try to look at the shades of
I mean,
gray that
I'm
exist
the kind of
between?
person I believe in like objective truth, and like when it comes to the gender discussion, for example, I asked what is a woman, and it's like somebody who's born with an XX or XY chromosome. Like to me, a lot of things like that are very black and white, and I know that in some small instances there's shades of gray, but it's like when questions are directed.
I mean, when we were
towards this
talking
corner-
earlier about
when
like
questions are
essay and
directed-
bathrooms, we were
Yo,
like
let him
very
finish. Let him
interested.
finish. Let him finish.
When questions are directed to this side of the panel, with all due respect, it devolves into this like million shades of gray for literally everything, and the conversation, I feel like it's not fruitful for conversation. Is my
So
point.
where during the job interview process do they ask you to bring up your OnlyFans history? Is it like the hiring manager? Is it the HR?
Is this the level of
Appreciate
discourse
Like,
that we're on?
Where at what point
But cool.
during the client
You know, I think
interaction
There are
does that
background
happen?
checks that include your internet history, and if you choose to do OnlyFans, that's in your internet footprint forever. That is a choice that you made. That's the example that you brought up, and in your belief as a feminist, women have full agency over their sexuality since they've been liberated. It's only fair then to hold them accountable for making a decision.
Can
like
I say,
that.
OnlyFans aside, I personally would not advocate for employers to go looking to see how qualified the candidates are by the first thing that they're searching up after they see the name on the resume. Let's see if they have an OnlyFans
It
account.
comes up pretty quickly
And
when you look
wouldn't
at
just
somebody's
be it
background
wouldn't just be
on
that
the
as part of
internet.
their history any more than I think it's relevant for an employer to be like, let's look through their Facebook, let's look through their Twitter, through their
Those
YouTube.
things
So,
are
whatever
relevant.
they
Whatever
say
you
at
do.
work is
So
what
wait,
Are they,
relevant
like
to that
every,
stuff.
back on the
every
company,
employer,
though.
every employer is allowed to freely associate with who they want, but I would criticize any business person who thinks that it's prudent to spend their time I'm scanning through candidates like Instagram and
Through
social
their
media
internet
thing.
history?
Well, yeah.
So wait.
extreme.
Yeah, I think
Then-
what's
Wait,
you
more
don't think
relevant
it's
is their
prudent for
credentials and their
employers?
resume.
You don't
Wait,
think
time
it's
out.
prudent for employers to care about whether or not one of their employees has OnlyFans?
Yeah, I think you're
That's
just,
not prudent.
Wait, hold on.
Like
if
if
it-
I'm
No, it
hired,
can
if
be
I'm
prudent
a
depending
CEO,
on what the
Chase,
job
if I'm a
is. But
CEO
generally speaking, I don't think it's prudent or like a
Wait,
fruitful
Chase,
use
Chase.
of
If
an
I'm-
employer's
let me
time
make
to
this
like
point real quick.
specifically comb through their prospective like applicants' internet history.
Okay,
in that way.
internet history and OnlyFans are two different things. okay?
OnlyFans can be part of your internet.
So-
Okay,
No,
so
there
if I'm a
shouldn't
CEO
aside, they
and I'm
do.
hiring somebody, let's say I'm hiring a salesperson to close high ticket deals and they're talking with important people on a daily basis. And I'm
Right.
sending that salesperson to go speak with these people. And if any of those people that they speak to look up that person's name and they find pornography of them all over the internet, obviously they're going to take me and my company far less seriously if I have somebody working like that for me. How
And
can you
your-
say
your
that that's
response
not
is just
important?
like, oh well, they shouldn't.
Yeah,
they
that-
shouldn't.
No,
think
I
that
said
that
every employer
is
and
bad.
business
Yeah,
owner
back-
is allowed to
and it's
freely
like-
associate and hire whoever they think so. If they really think that that's at odds with their company's profits, then
And
don't
that's-
hire that
okay, and that's
candidate.
how you
But I
end
would
up-
be very suspect as to whether or not that's actually
So
the
then
case.
wait a
I have
minute,
no
wait,
idea
wait.
whether or
If
not-
this-
it
if
may
it-
very well be the case that the
if
scenario that you're
this-
describing does happen, and if that's the case, then I wouldn't expect an employer to act any other way.
So okay, cool, great. So if this is not a relevant point, then why did she bring this up as a relevant point?
I like how almost every other person in the panel understood what I was saying and maybe disagreed with what I was saying, but at least understood it versus you who keep saying like, oh no, you think a person like should like hire OnlyFans when it's like, hey, no, like what I'm trying to say is that there are different standards for men
check.
and women when it comes to like sex. That's all I was trying to say. And yet you
Should
keep
there
trying
not
to
be
strong.
different standards for people who are different?
No,
Yeah, do
that's
you
Men
understand-
that's a
and women
good
are
question.
different,
Oh,
so
sorry.
they are held to different standards because
Yeah.
of the objective differences between male and female sexuality.
Bingo.
Yeah, and we
What
can
would you say to
have
that?
we can
Bingo.
have this conversation right now. I just want to point out that I appreciate you guys actually bringing that to a conversation than trying to straw man me over and over again.
Okay,
What
so
about we
what would your
straw man?
response be to that?
Would do different. So just
Women
to make
and men
sure.
are treated differently because of the objective differences between men and women, especially in regards to their sexuality.
How is this patriarchy holding women down? I'm still waiting.
Oh
Did we
yeah,
not
let's come back to that.
Yeah, why are
let
we
me
using
hold
the
on? Let
word
me
patriarchy like
redirect.
it's a
Let me
bad
redirect the
word?
How is
conversation.
it
It's a
holding them
based
down?
word.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think it
wait.
hasn't been
So,
like
hold on,
holding
let- I
society
got a
together.
Men
couple
invented
questions.
OnlyFans.
I did want to hear Pixie's
Hold on.
response to that.
Hold on. I got a couple
Yeah.
questions here. Let me try to get through them.